Hello and welcome to my review for Southland Tales. Now this is for AJ Lancaster, my very first ever patron, and now a Tater Tot patron tier. We do movie reviews, and the patron picks out the bit of content that they enjoy, that they want me to check out. We've done TV shows, we've done a bunch of movies, and AJ in particular, this is his second review I've done for him, and AJ in particular has very, challenging taste in that the films challenge you. The films are very interesting and esoteric and broad, and I've really dug that, man. AJ, this was a journey. The last movie AJ had me watch was called The Council, and that movie was a mind trip. It was a more cynical Who Framed Roger Rabbit, a commentary on humanity and the studio system simultaneously, and what a personal identity is through way of a largely animated film that was very, very acid trippy. I bring that up because Southland Tales is also challenging in that it feels like a drug trip. It feels very much like a journey through reality, and there's so many broad concepts that are half explored. There's so many broad ideas that are dabbled with. There's so many theologies and so many great thinkers that are quoted, and there are so many things about this movie that are pieces of other ideas, and it was a fascinating journey for me because it features an absolutely incredible cast. It features a lot of people that were about to blow up and be huge, and it's interesting because Richard Kelly said he wanted to cast people to play to their strengths that they don't get to show often, so he put people in this movie that weren't known for XYZ, and almost everyone in this movie is a giant star now. It's really interesting to look at a casting process, and this was in '06, and it's 2020, and nearly everyone in this has had a giant career. So full credit to the cast and director, full credit to Richard Kelly for taking some chances. This was actually the first time The Rock was credited as Dwayne Johnson. This was the first Dwayne Johnson film. So for what it's worth, I had a really good time watching it. I definitely wish I knew what it was more. When we go through my notes here, I definitely had a hard time trying to wrap my brain around some of the concepts, but I actually waited until the next morning. This is the day after I watched the film to review it, because I know it's one of those things that I think the more I digest it, the more I'll enjoy it. I last night had given it a C. Today I give it a C+. Who knows? It might go up even more. For me, I grade in a bell curve. If you guys look at my Letterboxd, everything's kind of on an overarching spectrum. I've only given out 16 A+. I've only given out 16 5 stars in history. I don't see perfection that often. I've also likewise only given like 20 Fs. I don't give out a lot of half stars. So this is right at my middle of the road. I think C is an average film. C+ would put it just above average. Not quite a B for me yet. I might have to revisit it. Not soon. I have to digest it and then think about why I want to revisit it and then see what it is. Because it seems like even I read about a lot of the actors not knowing exactly what they were in. Justin Timberlake described it as performance art. A lot of people that were in the movie seem to not know exactly what their experience was with the movie. There's another cut that was shown at Sundance that wasn't quite completed without special effects. The actual trajectory of the film is as fascinating as the film. Richard Kelly submitted it to Sundance not thinking it would make it in. They loved it. He sent it in unfinished, and then it ended up getting like a 1.1 score, which is not great, from the people in attendance, and that really hurt him. But then it ended up hurt him personally. But then he ended up getting $1 million from Sony to complete the film, and he considers it his misunderstood masterpiece. So my journey through the film was very similar to his description of the experience. I kept not getting it. I kept wanting to understand. I kept enjoying the scenes. I kept enjoying the bold acting choices. A lot of the people are playing to their character name. Like the names in this movie are all like preposterously big. Everyone in this movie is acting like they're in a music video or a commercial, or the dialogue, they're really going to 11 with it. So there's a lot of big acting, but I think that was intentional, and I can't imagine what set was like, but like the names of the characters in this movie are like Tab Taverner, Bing Zienman, Cindy Pinsey. Like everything's a giant over the top character name. And those are just some of the supporting players. Krista Kapowski / Krista Now is one of her leads, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar. Wood Harris plays Dion Element. The Rock plays Boxer Santero / Jericho Kane. Jericho Kane's already another role that Arnold played. So this all felt very tongue-in-cheek, and it's meant to be a black comedy. So what I struggled with was what the line between the comedy and the reality of the film was. At what point were we laughing with what was happening in the film? What point are we laughing at what's happening in the film? So I found it challenging, and then that I'm using that as a compliment. The word challenging in this case was something I appreciated about the film. I didn't know where I was supposed to be laughing, what I was supposed to be appreciating for what. At one point, Lou is on the side of an armored car floating into the sky, laughing maniacally, not laughing, but like chuckling to himself, not even maniacally, but just he's got a mania to him. And then like launches a rocket at a Zeppelin, and there's just so much imagery that's beautiful and wonderful, but I felt either that I didn't know enough of what they were trying to convey, or it was making references to literary concepts I'm not aware of, or it was a hodgepodge of both and I just missed a lot of stuff. But I really had a good time with the scenes. I really had a good time with what I experienced. So it's a really strange film to try to dissect, because I don't know if I'd recommend it to a lot of people, but there are certain people I thought of, and there are certain people I'll definitely recommend it to. It's also a movie I've been wanting to see since 2006. It just slipped my radar. So I'm really glad to have seen it. It's a really strange journey. It definitely made me appreciate filmmaking, which is what I want out of movies. I love Richard Kelly. Donnie Darko is... Actually, you know what? I should say I love Donnie Darko. I don't know enough Richard Kelly's work to really speak to him, but I love Donnie Darko. It's one of my top 20 movies of all time. But it's a lot of people's top movies. It's how they got Moby to do the score to this movie. He's a big Donnie Darko fan. So there's a lot to this that I want to understand more. And apparently there was a 12-issue mini-series of comics that came out to tie in the canon of stuff that apparently pushed Richard Kelly to the edge of sanity. And a lot of quotes like that just make me wonder, like, what this journey was. What was set like? One of the things I read is that Timberlake shot everything in one day. There's a lot of locations for that. There's at least 3 locations he's in, and he's got a decent amount of screen time for one shoot day. I don't know if that's possible. I heard so much about this, and I'm just wondering. It is possible on the technical sense if he had an 18-hour day to shoot it all, but it just seemed unlikely for the amount he was in the film. I know they redid the ADR with his voiceover, and I think that was smart, because I really liked how his voiceover tied the whole thing together. So, in summary, I really appreciated the journey of the film. I loved the imagery of the film. I enjoyed the big acting of the film. I wish I understood what the filmmaker was trying to show me more. I wish I understood what the landing was. I felt like I was there for launch, and I was there with it through the sky, and then I don't know where I land. And that's actually one of the notes in here, is I just had an experience watching the film that I enjoyed the experience of, but I don't know what the movie was. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it worked for me to a C+ level. I'm really glad to have seen it. AJ, I'm really glad you got me to watch this movie. It's just such a strange thing to describe, and it's such a strange journey to talk about. So, I loved the literary dabbling. I loved that Kevin Smith basically played Karl Marx. I love that the movie itself took itself so seriously and not seriously at all. It's a really good time that doesn't make sense to me. So, Southland Tales. All right, getting into this is the longest without notes review I've done yet, for what it's worth. So, AJ, thank you for making me think. Thank you for making me wonder. 8 minutes of just me going like, what was it? Means it did something. A lot of times I read a book and I get one perspective, then a year later I revisit the book and I get another. A lot of times you read a poem and you're like, beautiful. What? And I felt like this here. So, beautiful. What? So yeah, that was my experience with the film. I wanted to go over some of the trivia with you guys. So this movie has a whopping 5.4 IMDb. It's got a 39% Rotten Tomato. It's got a 1.1 Sundance. I've never included that rating before, but I was just staggered by how low that number was. And it's got a 69% Google user rating. So I'm definitely not as low as a 39% Rotten Tomato. I'm not as low as a 44% Metacritic. I'm probably closer to the Google users in the 69%. I'd probably put it right around there. At my C+ range. So I agree with the Google users. There's a lot of merit in it. I just wish I understood it more. I wish I knew it knew what it was just a little bit more. And it's not for lack of runtime. It's 2.5 hours. I just wish there was like another scene to kind of like cement the landing, because it's got so many metaphors, and we're going to get into that right now. So my notes. The surrealism totally works. This world is fantastic. Little Rock. Rock was smaller at this time, so I was calling him Little Rock. He's Pebble. He thought that being that big wouldn't work for Hollywood, and at the time I think he was right. He had to kind of reframe how we saw these giant 80s style bodybuilder dudes, and The Rock's now allowed to be the mountain. Not the Game of Thrones mountain, but The Rock as a mountain. So it's interesting to see The Rock as small as he was in this film for his acting focus in '06. I just had to... so I watched this on Pluto TV, which is an app I never used before. It was free on Pluto TV. Pluto TV is a free app with lots of movies and TV shows and stuff. This isn't an ad for Pluto TV, but what made it interesting was there's commercials I didn't know that about the application. I also didn't know when it broke into a commercial. The movie is so surrealistic. The movie is so esoteric. The movie is so abstract. There was an electric car commercial during the movie that I didn't know wasn't part of the movie till there was another commercial for Aldi, and I was like, no, Aldi's real shit. This is a commercial break. What's going on? And the tone of the acting in the commercials matched the big tone of the acting in the movie, so I didn't turn it off. I kept watching the whole movie. It took me 3 hours and 20 minutes to watch it on with commercials on Pluto. What a time! Actually, no, I think it was exactly 3 hours, but I had paused it, so 3:20. Either way, it was a journey I went on. It's a 3-hour experience on Pluto because there's 40 minutes of commercials. What a crazy thing to have commercials in there that felt the same as the movie. We'll get to that more as we go along. Let's see. I just had a commercial break for electric cars and Aldi, and it felt like the movie. That was so perfect. This is jarringly prescient. This movie is talking about a lot of things that would go on. The riots that come up later in the film, a lot of the internet conversation that goes on later in the film, a lot of the commentary on brutality and, the racism we're still dealing with. This is a movie set in the future, made in 2006. We haven't solved a lot of the stuff. I love the Sarah Michelle Gellar, like, the future is going to be much more futuristic than we thought it would be. Obviously, that's a comedy line, but delivered with such earnesty because the character she was playing. And it was interesting watching a movie in the past about the future that some of the things have landed. Like, blimps are back, y'all. Richard Kelly got blimps right. All right, let's see. The Rock is actually dabbling, not in politics, but, like, he's number 3 on the polls. Like, there was a poll that, other than the Biden-Trump, like, somehow The Rock is number 3 of the, the person. And in this movie, there's a political undertone with The Rock's character, which I just thought was funny because it's 2020 and now The Rock's the biggest movie star in the world in politics and all that stuff. So there's a lot less violence in the world if people got a little more cardio, is my favorite line in the film. It was in the first half hour. There'd be a lot less violence in the world if people got a little more cardio. Love that line. It's also true. Endorphins are good for you. Also, we sit too much. We're way too sedentary. Not going to get into workout shit in this review, but I do agree with it, and it was said comedically, but it's goddamn true. Get some cardio. Makes you happy, makes the world better, you're less angry. Once you're done with the cardio, you might be angry during it. Anyway, very funny line. Thank you for that, Richard Kelly. You can tell Richard Kelly is a giant Venice fan, or at least what Venice Beach was 5+ years ago. Recently, Venice Beach has changed. There's a lot more regulation at Venice Beach, which defeats the entire purpose of Venice Beach. There's not as many people selling handmade wares. There has to be permits, which people that are homeless and people that are making stuff by hand a lot of times can't get permits. It's bullshit. Fuck Venice police. It's become a shell of what it once was. But when this was made in 06, it was when it was Venice Beach, or at least the Venice Beach I knew 10 years ago and up until 5 years ago. I'm only 10-year Angelino, but I loved, when I first moved out here, the first 5 years Venice was my favorite place. It was my sanctuary, and this movie was like a love letter to Venice in so many ways, and it was so great to see my Venice again. So again, thank you, AJ, for getting me to see Venice in the way I loved it. It was beautiful, and you could tell Kelly was making a love letter to Venice Beach. It was some magic for me. Tom Jane! Oh, by the way, there's a number of times I literally just type in all caps an actor appearing. So sometimes I'm just going to yell blank because I didn't know they were in it, and I got really excited. That was the first one. Tom Jane! This cast! I love the mirror delay with William Scott's intro. I loved that imagery. I thought it really worked for the movie. I was already confused, so I was like, let's dance. This is great. More surrealism. Amy Poehler and Wood Harris. Amy Poehler, way before I knew about her, way back in 06. Wood Harris, who I had just watched the other day in Remember the Titans. Wood Harris is such a good actor, and Wood Harris popping up here made me real happy. Opposite Amy Poehler, that totally worked. They were the extremist Marxists that were out in Venice Beach that later are the victim of a hate crime. Loved them two being in this film. His dialogue works for this world. Only Kelly could direct Kelly. Again, very specific, very strange journey. Perfectly cast this era of The Rock. This era of Rock and his big acting and his tongue-in-cheek, like, wide-eyed neuroses. All of that totally worked. Like, The Rock hadn't done that many movies at this point. This was his first Dwayne Johnson foray. This Rock was perfectly cast. I don't know if 2020 Rock would work in this film. I don't know if The Rock, with as much under his belt and as available to the world as The Rock is, would work in the movie. So this era Rock was perfect. Which leads into, whoa, that double N-word was yeesh unpleasant. I'm going to say the N-word because it's still the most, like, and hearing it twice from these two, it was just strange. Like, The Rock saying that's not what The Rock would do now. I don't think he'd take this role now. And even hearing that movie out of the character's voice, with The Rock being the human saying it, with Dwayne Johnson saying that word was just so, like, ugh. but it gets your attention. That's the point of it in the movie, and it's used as a weapon, and the N-word is a weapon, so they used it as a weapon in the film, and it's a weapon in life. So it was just interesting that it made me go like, good, and make a note about it. Oof, fascist versus racist cop commentary. We are half hour into the movie. We got some fascism versus racism cop commentary. Topical as fuck, AJ Lancaster. This Lynch Kelly vibe is weird. It felt like David Lynch meets Richard Kelly. There's a lot of Donnie Darko imagery, but it has that David Lynchian, what is going on? Dude, this movie. The sound design is so good at making you uncomfortable while disorienting you, and then vice versa. I was disoriented while getting more uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable getting more disoriented. It was this Ouroboros of what the fuck is going on. I love the sound design in this film. This movie is so much of the TV stuff right now. We did get this dumb. I was a senior in high school in 06. I graduated in 06. I was not as worldly. I didn't see the world as much, so I don't know how dumb we were in 06, but I loved the reality TV commentary with Sarah Michelle Gellar and her friends. Like, if you take the morning after pill and fly across timelines, and is it the morning before pill? We 100% got that dumb. We might have been in 06. I wasn't as aware of it. I was not watching reality TV. I still don't. But reality TV has become such a huge part of the cultural zeitgeist. We elected a fucking reality TV host to president. Like, we got this dumb. So it was really interesting to watch a movie about the future be like, look, here we fail. So in that way, I think Richard Kelly's right. This is his misunderstood baby. Because goddamn did he called a lot of the stuff that we are currently dealing with in a really strange way. Let's see. We did get this dumb. Eli Roth just got shot on the shitter. Eli Roth's in this movie for like 10 seconds. I was unprepared. I didn't know there was good and evil Sean William Scott at play. Excited for 2 Sean William Scotts. Little did I know they have one scene as part of the plot, but I was like, yeah, double Sean William Scott. I'm approaching an hour in and have the feeling I won't know much more when this movie ends than I do now. This was a 3-hour version that I watched because of commercials. So I was a third of the way in, like, and I knew I wouldn't land, and I was right, and that's why I don't know how I feel about the movie, which is interesting. Let's keep going. All right, playing complete the Donnie Darko cast minus Gyllenhaal is almost complete. There's so many Donnie Darko supporting characters in this film. I had so much fun with Donnie Darko characters making, because this is only 5 years after Donnie Darko. Darko was in 01, this was 06, so seeing these actors again warmed my heart. I love that Richard Kelly's loyal to his team. John Lovitz is here! There was just an electric car commercial before seeing cars fucking. Guys, in the movie there's a scene where cars fuck. In my movie experience, there was an electric car commercial that turned into a in-movie car commercial, and then those cars boned. That warped my mind in a way that I may never recover from, because I didn't know when. It was so well shot as a commercial in the film. I was like, okay, it's still a car commercial. Oh no, it's got a dick, and that tailpipe is a vagina. Okay, sure, yeah, what's going on? This movie's a journey. All right, let's see. And that totally, I look again, I'm so glad I watched it with commercials. It was such a strange time. Filming this must have been insane. Inconceivable! I love that actor being in this movie because he was that 11 that it needed that part. Everyone in this movie has to play an 11 of their archetype. In modern Hollywood, so many actors are cast for their type, and so many actors are cast to play, versions of themselves. This movie has that with everyone playing an 11 of the self that they were in 2006 and earlier. So, holy crap. Or the opposite of what people perceive them as, but the casting in this. All right. Filming this must have been insane. Mandy Moore is here. Everyone is acting like they're in a short or a horror movie or a music video. What is going on? Hearing Mandy Moore swear is strange. I'm a diehard This Is Us fan, and Mandy Moore is such a sweetheart. Hearing her swear in this was so weird. Old man Kevin Smith? ? I thought I remembered him being in this. I once again have no idea what's going on. Also, old man Kevin Smith is playing a stand-in, an allegory for a personification of Karl Marx himself. He's a person, but can you personify a concept of a person? He's playing the personification of the concept of Karl Marx in a Marxist commentary movie where there's a literal Marxist bunker, and he plays a guy that looks just like Karl Marx. That's what this movie is, y'all. And I was like, I thought I remembered Kevin Smith being in this. Once again, I have no idea what's going on. Hey, it's Lou! My buddy Lou Pucci's in this movie, and it was really funny to see him as this little Wankster boy. Lou is fantastic, and it was just great to see my friend doing good work. Drug vision is Frank vision. Whenever they take the drug and they show like inside the way they're looking, it's reminded me of Frank the Bunny and like the knife on the glass there. Musical number. There's an Americana musical number, an Americana metaphor musical number with Justin Timberlake singing another pop star song. There's a musical number where Justin Timberlake sings a peer, like someone he works with's music while being in character in this Americana metaphor, and it's just as weird as it sounds. What is this Sean William Scott Lou interaction. I need your help. Okay. Suddenly the dialogue is just like, let's move the plot along. That's the only scene I was like, why would he agree to help? He just saved his life, but that wasn't even part of the commentary. He's just like, okay, I'll take you. Guy, weird. The Rock with a 6-pack of Bud Light is the best commercial I could have possibly gotten for Bud Light, and I think that's exactly what Bud Light asked for. Him walking around drinking all 6, like opening a cannon. Beautiful, beautiful work. Let's see. I keep doing this is okay, and I know that's not a positive symbol anymore, so that's what I meant, like drinking 6-pack. All right, let's see. Ooh, it's an anti-privacy movie. It's all coming together. So now we're adding in another element. We've already gotten about police brutality. We've already had commentary on a dictatorship. We've already gotten commentary on like taking too much control. We've already gotten commentary on the Republican Party taking over the country. We've already gotten commentary on nuclear war. Now I'm like, it's a privacy movie. It's talking about your privacy, and there's a commercial in the film that your privacy is worth less than your freedom, but your freedom is your privacy. It's meant to be ironic. That was another element just added in. It's all coming together, ? And fossil fuels. Naturally, it's talking about fossil fuels. I'm fascinated to know if the comics tie things together clearer and what that journey is like. Why wouldn't his wife, Mandy Moore, know what his tattoos mean? They're married. Why was she asking about the Rock's tattoos? They know each other. What is that whole conversation? Does anyone in this movie actually exist? So at that point, I was wondering if this movie was real, if The Rock's going to wake up at one point. Does anyone exist? What is this reality? What's going on? And I still don't quite know. Were they all in the 4th dimension? Maybe. Is that an unreality? Reality? Maybe the time jump was the journey we went through the movie, so we were all seeing the future versions of themselves, because there's 2 versions of some of the characters because of a time warp. Maybe we lived that whole movie in a time warp. Maybe that explains it? I don't know. Yep, that's definitely Old Man Kevin. I feel like every time there's a song, people leave character. Is that a clue? Every time there's a song, people break into dance or they're aware of the song. Is that... What is the reality of this movie? Kevin Smith yelling at The Rock back in '06. Yo, this movie's crazy. Just young The Rock getting yelled at by Old Man Kevin Smith back in 2006. Just, I couldn't quite hang. I was like, yeah, this movie's crazy. So is the script real, or is he in the movie of his script? Am I in the movie? What is this movie? So the script became real at points. People would reference it as a reality, but I thought it was just that one woman from the telemarketer line that found his script and she was playing at The Rock, but then she got shot, and then the reality became real because the Marxism people said that the reality, he guessed it right, he called it. So I think it was trying to tell me that when he had the experience of the time jump, that he wrote a script based on the experiences and he got it right. So that script was a problem because it was available. So the people like hunted him down to tell him about the truth of the other Rock and that his script was correct. But the way it was told, because there were 2 sets of people with his script, one that knew and one that didn't, I think it was jarring. So what is the movie? Wait, there's 2 of him. So that means Seann William Scott isn't a twin, he's a dupe. But he kept referring to the other Seann William Scott as his brother, and it seemed to be that they knew each other. How did he just suddenly wake up and think he had a twin? Was that ever explained? They also probably touched earlier. Why didn't that come into play? Also, when they touched later, their hands were glowing. When he took the drug, his hand was glowing, but the other Seann William Scott wasn't anywhere near him. Explain that. I don't know what's going on. Moving on. Pimps don't commit suicide. What a line, and it gets repeated a few times. Pimps don't commit suicide. Do you bleed? Every time they said that, I kept thinking of all the times that was in like comics and stuff. So many drugs went into this movie. So many drugs. So many. I wrote multiple times. This just got even more expensive with all of these practical car stunts in '06 in downtown Los Angeles. This was an expensive movie. This cast plus all the practical. I love seeing practical stunts. Thank you, Richard Kelly. But didn't they just interact in the beginning? Why the mirror delay? Is the mirror delay because they just interacted? Is the mirror delay because they were living in between times? Is the mirror delay because he was a little ahead of himself? But his other self was tied up in there, so he's not ahead of time. Is he? Is that why his mirror was just behind him because he was ahead of time? Was that what that mirror delay represented? I think that's what the mirror delay represented, but then we never... Maybe? Okay, well, all this police violence downtown in my city certainly feels different than it would have last year. Turning on the news and there being some police violence 2 weeks ago, and then turning on this movie and there being much police violence, it was definitely a jarring experience. I've been in that area recently, and it's rough. I don't know about today. Like the protests are peaceful, and the violence was a lot of plants. So I don't know if things have gotten better. The news stopped covering shit because there stopped being violence, which is great. Thanks, news. The protest, the important part, not the violent part. But let's not get political in this review. This movie about politics. Actually, let's get political in this review because it's a movie about politics. Once the protests stopped being violent because people stopped being assholes that were plans to cause violence, the news stopped covering the protests. Right now, when you're watching this, there are still protests happening. There's so much less news coverage of it. Protests are doing their job. We're causing change. This movie is about that very sort of thing. Okay, let's see. He got shot right where Frank the Bunny did. What is with Richard Kelly and shooting people in the eye? Exactly the same spot. Then I write, is this connected to Donnie Darko, or does he love the eye imagery? For a minute there, I thought this was going to be a sequel to Donnie Darko. Because that movie's about time travel, and that movie's about, connecting the dots through an abstract, and there's a lot of, literary references in that too, like, Cellar Door and all those things. I was like, yo, did he just backdoor pilot a sequel to Donnie Darko, like motherfucking M. Night? Because when M. Night had that twist at the end of Split, we were all like, I thought maybe Richard Kelly was sequeling Donnie Darko for me, and I was real hyped for like 5 minutes. This was not connected to Donnie Darko through a bullet in the eye, unfortunately. I don't know that any amount of canon comics could tie this all together for me. Why is the fourth dimension being symbolized with a floating armored car and the Rock between Mandy Moore and SMG? So at one point, there's a floating armored car with two Sean William Scotts with Lou on the top, which is crazy. And then the Rock is being like danced with by both Sarah Michelle Gellar and Mandy Moore. None of this is really explained as to why it's happening, but I think it's a metaphor. I know why the car was floating, but I don't know what it was symbolizing, and I don't know what them dancing was symbolizing. I was confused at this point. Okay, again, the score/soundtrack is magnificent. Ladies and gentlemen, the party is over. Have a nice apocalypse is how I felt all of 2020. There's a loudspeaker moment that says, ladies and gentlemen, the party is over. Have a nice apocalypse. And I was like, ooh, that's hitting real. Lou with the gun on a floating armored car shooting at a blimp. I need that as a gif. I need that just to know. I just need that. Let's see. Who was Kevin Smith? He popped back up. What happened? I later on realized the Marxist parallel. I didn't recognize him as Marx because I don't know what Marx looks like. I looked up Marxism for this very review and I was like, I see. He was in the Marxist bunker and he was Marxism as a metaphor. Whole thing. Why is Lou Jesus? He fell off like Jesus. That's another visual metaphor that's very common in Western iconography. What is going on? I hope Sean William Scott is happy, whatever he's up to. I don't mean the character. I mean the actor. I hope Sean William Scott's happy. Whatever you're doing, Sean. Hope you're good. And then finally, I have no idea what just happened to me. The movie ended and I went, correct. That's exactly how I thought I'd feel. So AJ, C+, might even become a B-. Who knows? It was a strange journey. I really enjoyed the quest I went on. There's a lot of insane things about the movie that I thought were just fascinating. I'm going to read a couple of them to you guys because I like doing trivia in the middle or the end of these reviews. Let me do a couple of those and we're going to wrap this up because this is half an hour about a movie that was so alarming and great and fun and visual but strange and disconnected. And is that on purpose? Who knows? Okay. Richard Kelly in 2013 called it his misunderstood child, that it's his proudest achievement. Moby did the film score because he was a big Donnie Darko fan. I said that earlier. First thing with The Rock. Richard Kelly wanted to seek out actors. Actually, I said a lot of this in my review already. Okay. The police cruisers in the film have a Latin quote, "Orderant dum mutiant," inscribed on them. It was a famous saying of Roman Emperor Caligula, "Let them hate so long as they fear." No comment. Okay, let's see. Richard Kelly wrote the script originally before the September 11 attacks, and the original script involved blackmail, a porn star, and two cops. After it, he made this more of a commentary about the world and less of a making fun of Hollywood. Let's see. He described the balance of them as a tapestry of ideas, all related to some of the biggest issues that I think we're facing right now. Alternative fuel, or the increasing obsession with celebrity and how celebrity now intertwines with politics. With the film's premise of a nuclear attack on Texas, Kelly wanted to take a look at how the United States would respond and survive while constructing a pitch-black comedy. He was right. Those are a lot of issues we are still facing 14 years later. Fossil fuels are a problem. Celebrity intertwining with politics is an interesting conversation to have, because I think using your voice is important, but being educated is important. Education is important, because this movie shows the dumbness of America. Like the reality TV like he got all of those points right, but I wish the movie had a little more glue, because all of the meandering, Spidey also agrees. Okay, let's see. The film's influences: Kiss Me Deadly, Pulp Fiction, Brazil, Doctor Strangelove, totally agree. Sarah Michelle Gellar, when she met Justin Timberlake, did not recognize him because of all the makeup, which I thought was funny. Okay, he has said he'd love to do a director's cut on a DVD. This has been years and years later. I don't know if that exists or not. Someone in the comments, you can let me know. Timberlake said, quote, "To me, Southland Tales is performance art. I still don't know what the movie is about," laughs. Bro, let's talk about it. What is it? There are 3 chapters of this movie, each sharing its name with a song by an alternative music artist. Temptation Waits is a song by Garbage, great song. Memory Gospel is a song by Moby, great, he does the score. And The Wave of Mutilation is a song by the Pixies, which is great, used wonderfully in the film. I'm a huge Pixies fan, Boston band. The song was used so well in the film. I loved the soundtrack and the score, man. Okay, Teen Horniness is Not a Crime was actually sung by Sarah Michelle Gellar. That whole subplot of her porn stuff was so funny to me. Her being an entrepreneur of porn, fantastic. Okay. Karl Marx, The Visual of Kevin Smith. Film makes multiple literary references. T.S. Eliot, Philip K. Dick, Robert Frost, all of that. I caught some of it. Did not tie it to much. I just appreciated it being in there. There's a lot to unpack about this movie. So I want to wrap this up now that we're at 30 minutes. AJ, thank you. Had a great time. Real weird time. Spidey and I enjoyed it. I will look forward to digesting it, seeing how it lands. I want to study it a bit. I did a fair amount of research, as you've heard in the last 30 minutes. I'm going to study some more. I'm going to see how those literary references might have tied more into visuals that I didn't quite grasp. I want to know why Lou was Jesus-ing. I want to know some of the metaphors and why they used T.S. Eliot. I want to get it. So thank you for that strange journey. And dude, I love the 2 movies you've asked me to watch so far. One of them I'd never even heard of, and this one I've wanted to watch for near 15 years. So hell yeah, thank you. To anyone else that is not a patron, that is one of my Patreon tiers. You can have me watch a movie or a few episodes of a TV show, like equivalent length to a movie, and I have a great time reviewing those. I do research, I watch interviews, as you just experienced. You're 31 minutes into this. I do my due diligence to try to understand while also reviewing the film for you. What a journey, man. Thank you. That was a blast. I will talk to you guys on the next one, and stay well, stay sane, stay healthy, and let's get through this all together. Enjoy dope content and make some art. Make some cool shit. Look what Richard Kelly made. Make cool shit. Make crazy shit. Have people like me try to understand it. Make some shit. All right. Much love, guys. Talk to you soon.